Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. And today, it's our season preview. Who's going to win the National League East? Who's going to be the Phillies' most valuable hitter, most valuable pitcher? We're going to break down all of the big predictions on today's show.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much. Already losing my words, for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. If you're checking us out on YouTube, go to Locked On Phillies on your YouTube app or the website, and you can subscribe. It'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. It's free. It's easy. It's your best way to keep up with everything during the season. It also really helps us out. You may be familiar with some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio for 5 years here in the city of Philadelphia. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for now 4 seasons, and this is my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Today's episode is the prediction episode. We have less than 24 hours till opening day. I'm sitting down to record this at about 4:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that means that for a 4:05 first pitch tomorrow, we will already be rolling this time on Thursday. The long wait is just about officially over. And tomorrow we get to do, hold your breath for this one, we get to break down a game preview. One that actually matters, not just spring training. So that's going to be fun. So that's why today we're doing our prediction show. We're going to lead off with predictions for the hitters, or position players if you want to call them that. We're going to follow that up with a segment about predictions for the pitching staff. And then we're going to round everything out with thoughts on the NL East and who's going to win the division and win total for the Philadelphia Phillies, who's over under on most sports books you're looking at is 89.5 right now, or 90.5 right now, right around that 90 mark. So we will break down all of that on today's episode. But let's jump into the hitters right off the rip, because frankly, this is the pressure point for the Philadelphia Phillies fan base right now. It's not the pitching staff. It's not the bullpen, even though maybe it should be the bullpen. We'll talk about that when we get to the pitchers. But people, the number one criticism of this team is, well, they're not going to hit come October. We've seen them do it 3 years in a row. All right. That aside, because we're going to have all season to argue back and forth about that. I think this is a damn good baseball team. When I look at the hitters, some major predictions for 2025. I think the best overall hitter on this team is going to be, no shock pick here, Bryce Harper. And you might say, Connor, that's boring. Well, I've hinted at telling you how good I think he's going to be this year. I think we're getting another MVP caliber season from Bryce Harper, another 2021 type of season, because I think this is the first year where he's going to have that strength back from the Tommy John surgery recovery. I think it normally takes pitchers 2 full years to get back to even. Bryce Harper will be hitting 2 full years. So I think this is the year that he starts to show off consistent power and not have those weird dead spots in the middle of the season. I don't think he wins MVP. By the way, we're going to be doing award stuff in here, just kind of sparsed in. Any guy that I talk about that could win a yearly award in the majors. I think Bryce Harper has an MVP caliber season. I don't think he wins it because I think Ohtani is that good. I think you're looking at a situation where Juan Soto is that good up with the Mets. There are just too many good players in the National League to truly predict Bryce Harper to win National League MVP. It would be hard to predict Soto. It wouldn't be hard to predict Ohtani. But it's just there's too many guys, Acuna, if he's healthy, down in Atlanta, that could end up with that award. So, Bryce Harper, MVP caliber season. Now, what does that mean? Is it bats .302 with 37 bombs? Sure. Let's just put those out there as random numbers. Is it 295 and 38 homers? Cool. That's kind of the area that I'm looking though. And that's why I think he's going to be the best hitter. The best hitter over their expectation to me is going to be Bryson Stott. And there's a reason for that. I think Bryson Stott is in a unique spot to have a sneaky good year. Maybe more than sneaky good. He may just have the flat out undeniable good year because this dude can hit at the major league level. What we saw in good years in his career so far has not been a fluke. What we saw last year very well could have been a fluke. And I believe it was for a couple of reasons. One, he had an injury, an elbow weird injury that he was the story we're hearing for a lot of Phillies players, Alec Bohm, Ranger Suarez, Bryson Stott, guys were a lot more banged up last year than they led on. And part of that was they were down the stretch struggling to win ball games, so they wanted to tough it out. And then you get into the postseason and nobody's injured in the postseason. Come on. They're all going to say we're good to play because they want to be out there for Red October. But Bryson Stott had an injury that seemed to bother him significantly. He was also caught between two approaches. He was trying to be aggressive early in the count to get more drivable pitches to create an opportunity for him to attack pitchers. But what he was so good at in his good years of his career was being comfortable in deep counts, having a standard approach. If he doesn't get the pitches he needs early, he battles with two strikes, shortens up the approach, uses the whole field, becomes the contact hitter we need him to be. And that's the guy that I think Bryson Stott has to be for these Phillies this year. And he was stuck between the two guys. He kind of was like Two-Face from Batman. He had the split personality, I guess, when it comes to what you wanted him to be as a hitter or what he wanted to be as a hitter. That's an easy fix. Just tell him, hey, dude, you're not that guy. You are this guy, at least for right now. At some point in your future, maybe we'll find that other guy where you can hit that grand slam to the tune of everybody singing your walk-up music again against the Miami Marlins. But that's not the dude you are on a Tuesday in April, right? Like that's just not it. So we need you to be more of a contact hitter for the sake of this lineup. I think he's going to probably hit around like 278, 279, maybe even clear 280. And that's all you really need from him to balance out the lineup and give yourself more consistent at-bats there to set the table for the big boppers. I think Bryson Stott is going to have the best year over expectations. Now, this isn't all, hey, this guy's great. All these guys are great. Everyone's going to be above expectations. The guy that I believe is going to be below expectations the most is, and I haven't really talked about this yet, but I think it's going to be Nick Castellanos. And this is nothing against Casty. Like, some people just don't like Nick Castellanos for whatever reason. I'm a big fan of his. His mentality is incredibly entertaining to me. His comments and his quotes are awesome. He is a weird dude that loves baseball and has a lot of interesting opinions, and I love the way he plays the game. I do. But what I will say is Nick Castellanos is part of that aging core. He is a very streaky hitter. He got really hot for a lot of the back half of last season to help carry the Phillies. I mean, he was probably their most overall consistent hitter last year, which is crazy considering Bryce Harper had the year he had and Trey Turner hit nearly 300, or maybe he did hit over 300. Anyway, bottom line, why I think Nick Castellanos is going to be the most below expectations is because he played 162 games last year. It's a lot of baseball. Plus, he played every game in the postseason series, obviously. He had a really good year based on expectations last year. Sometimes you expect a little regression to the mean. So I think it's a wearing down of like the body a little bit due to his age. And I think the expectation with him has started to become, because of the year he had last year and the postseason he had the year before when they took on the Atlanta Braves, that he's now this consistently great hitter. And really, if you look at the numbers, he hasn't shown that with the Phillies. He's shown that he has an incredibly high ceiling, but he's a streaky guy. And again, this is not a trade Nick Castellanos. He thinks he's going to have a terrible year. It's I could see him, I don't know, batting 230 and not quite showing off the pop. And that doesn't mean in a postseason series you can't go rocket fuel hot and knock out a team basically on his own like we saw with the Atlanta Braves in years past. So Casty's going to have, I think, a little bit of a down year compared to what people are expecting for him. The one guy that I can't really pin down, because I basically have a feeling of who's going to be above expectations, on expectations, or below expectations. Like, I think Realmuto's above expectations. I think Bohm is at expectations. I kind of just think he is who he is. We already talked about Stott and Harper. I think Schwarber is going to be at expectations. He's consistent. That's the guy that he is. I think Marsh is going to be above expectations because I think they've given him a vote of confidence in center field. I look at all of this and then I go to left field, and that's the one guy that I say, I don't know what you're getting from Max Kepler, which may make him the most important piece in this lineup. If he goes out and he hits 25 bombs and bats 240, like that's going to be really, really big for this team. It's not going to be different. It's not going to be Luis Arraez joining this team and becoming the National League batting title winner. But you think about who was in left field last year and the rotating cast of guys like Buddy Kennedy and David Dahl and Cal Stevenson and Brandon Marsh and Yohan Rojas and Austin Hayes. And you say, hey, can I get a guy out there to play 140 games that hits 240 and 25 bombs, especially at Citizens Bank Park with a lefty that's shown a lot of pop in his career? Okay, I would love that. But frankly, he's the mystery box of this lineup, Max Kepler. And part of that is him being the new guy, but part of that's also him having a kind of weird career to this point. So if he has an up year, Phillies have an up year. If he has a down year, well, the Phillies are going to have trouble in the outfield. So that's the one guy that I can't give a prediction on, but I love what I'm seeing from a lot of the other guys. I think most Phillies hitters are going to be on expectation or above expectation with a few exceptions that I mentioned. Now, the pitching staff is going to sound like a Phillies fan has taken over the podcast. And I root for the Phillies, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to be blindly positive on the Philadelphia Phillies rotation. The bullpen, that will be a different story, though. So we will discuss predictions for the pitchers coming up next as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about some nuts, though. Wonderful pistachios. I'm not talking nuts like Bryce Harper's numbers. No, I'm talking nuts like both delicious and nutritious, a snack that you can get that lets you crack into a good source of protein. Wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love the no shells version. I still got this sitting right here on my desk if you're watching on YouTube. It's the no shells version of the sea salt and vinegar Wonderful Pistachios. And this has been empty for weeks, and I have a full one always in the cabinet. But I don't want to use that one because I eat them so quick. I'm going to throw it out, and I'm not going to have it for the ad read to show you how much I love these. They're a great snack. They have a bunch of different flavors and seasonings. If you like to crack the shells, you can get that version too. But they've got everything you want in a healthy, quick, tasty snack to help you get in shape for summer, make you feel like you're doing something good for your body, because you are, while still getting that snack in. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. That's wonderfulpistachios.com. Predictions for the pitchers. This is going to be fun because the pitchers are the calling card of this team. If the Philadelphia Phillies win the World Series this year, or the division, or a playoff series, or really anything the Phillies win this year, it will be in large part because the Philadelphia Phillies pitchers pitched their rear ends off. That's the only way, right? We had a conversation on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic this morning. I didn't get to make this point. I forget why, but we got time constraints there. We got to hit breaks and do ads and stuff like that. So I don't always get my points in, which is why it's great to do the podcast here because I get 30 minutes basically uninterrupted with y'all. But the way the Phillies can beat the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are the evil empire of baseball right now, they're going to have to pitch their nuts off. Sorry, pardon my language there, but that's the only way that you're going to do it, right? You're going to need Wheeler and Nola and Sanchez and Suarez and Luzardo and Painter and all of these guys in the bullpen to just be absolutely nasty. And on top of that, you're going to have to hit too. But it's going to start with them just basically having a dominant shutdown series. And we've seen them do it before against a team of that caliber. Remember, when they played Shohei Ohtani, they shut him down in the regular season in those series that they were able to face him, or at least in the one in Philadelphia where the Phils swept them. So you've got a situation where the pitching staff is unbelievable. And it's not just about shutting down Shohei Ohtani. It's about being the consistent part of this team because we know the Phillies lineup can be inconsistent. They're going to have hot months, hot days, cold days. The pitching staff needs to be the constant, at least the starting pitching. So as far as awards, I told you Bryce Harper was going to have an MVP caliber season. He's not going to win MVP, at least not in my prediction because there's too many top-of-the-line players in the National League right now. But Zach Wheeler is a different story. There aren't that many top-of-the-line hurlers in the National League. So you look at some of the guys that could win an NL Cy Young. Is Zach Wheeler top of that list? Well, the trendy pick is Paul Skeens, coming off the National League Rookie of the Year award, coming off the All-Star starter nod. I find it very hard to believe that Paul Skeens is going to echo that performance in Pittsburgh with a team that's not going to win all that much. Now, their division's not that good, but I'm interested to see what the sophomore slump year has for a guy like Paul Skeens. We will see. I think he's a very good pitcher. Zach Wheeler's been doing this for a long time. There's a much better chance that Paul Skeens has a fall-off year than Zach Wheeler. Same could be said for a guy like Chris Sale. Same could be said for a guy like Spencer Strider, who was hurt last year, who's not going to be able to pitch right off the rip to start the season down in Atlanta. The Mets have nobody. I'm just looking at the National League pitchers, and of course the Dodgers have talent. Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki. Now, are those guys Cy Young guys, or are they going to be cannibalized by their own rotation being so good? Could happen to Zach Wheeler as well. If there's a pitcher in this rotation that's going to win Cy Young this year, it is Zach Wheeler. It is not the trendy pick Chris Sanchez. It is not Aaron Nola. It is not Ranger Suarez. It was not Jesus Luzardo. It's Zach Wheeler. He is the guy. He will get all the love if this Phillies pitching staff is great, and he is great leading them. And frankly, he deserves one at some point in his career. He's got to go earn it. I think Zach Wheeler wins the National League Cy Young this year. I think he has another outstanding season. Now, let's look at some of the other guys in the rotation. I think Christopher Sanchez is an all-star again. He may be the only other all-star in this rotation. I worry about Aaron Nola a little bit. It's sneaky, but this is just a vibe conversation, right? This is not based on any numbers or any facts or anything. This is just me in my head getting a feel. But I'm right more than you'd think with these whole random feel things that I get into, where it's just like, I get the vibe that this is going to happen. Bad vibes, good vibes, whatever vibes. A lot of people have been talking about injuries and the age of this roster. And if they start getting hurt, well, they're one of the older rosters in baseball. Aaron Nola has been incredibly durable, right? It's kind of like, imagine you're sitting at a roulette table if you've ever gambled, and you're watching the numbers come up, and you're getting 10, 10, 10, maybe like 14, then back to 10. Like consistent, same number. Now, some gamblers would look at that and say, well, I'm going to bet it all on 10. It keeps coming up. Some people would say, there's no shot in the world it's coming up 10 again. I'm going to bet on a different number. I'm going to make a different bet because that's crazy that it keeps happening. At some point, it's almost crazy that Aaron Nola has gone so many seasons without, and knock on wood, having any type of injury or issue or something like that. So I worry that this may be the year for him. If he is healthy, I think he's going to have the Aaron Nola year, man. It'll be up and down. He'll give up some bombs. He'll get out of big situations. He'll give you good starts when it counts. That's Nola. Ranger Suarez, I think, is going to have an above expectations year. I do. I think the bar is low for him after injuries last year. And I do think you're going to see him be healthy enough to contribute. And it's a contract year, so he's going to want to go out there and like really focus on being available. I think we may be overreacting to the early back injury. And I think he's going to be over expectations. I think we're pumping up Christopher Sanchez a little too much. I think he's going to be awesome. I just don't think he's going to be like a dark horse Cy Young candidate. I think if he equals last year, where he did get a Cy Young vote, but he wasn't really in the conversation to win the award, that's where I see Christopher Sanchez kind of being this year. Jesus Luzardo, I think he's going to be better than people think. I think he's if he stays healthy, I think he's really, really good for a 5. Like he should be a 3 or a 2 on some teams. And the Phillies, maybe he's the guy that holds the rotation together once everybody gets healthy. Painter, we're not going to put him in the prediction just because he won't be up until July. So it's hard to predict half a season numbers and everything like that. I think a lot of guys in the rotation will have ERAs under 3.6 or 3.7, right? And there will be a few, Wheeler, Sanchez, that'll be under 2 for a large part of the start of the season. Yeah, that good. So watch out for the rotation. The bullpen, I'm just going to give you a handful of guys that I think are going to be good. Orion Kerkering, I think, is going to be the best reliever in the National League East. That includes Edwin Diaz. That includes everyone on the Braves, everyone else on the Phillies. He is primed for a huge year. He is awesome. I'm telling you right now, look for Ryan Kirkring to have a monster season. Jose Alvarado is going to look like the powerful lefty that we've seen in years past. He's going to have a great year based on expectations. Jordan Romano is going to have a really good year, I think, in the back end of this bullpen. I don't know if he will be the closer all year. That remains to be seen. But I think those are the three guys that I look at and I say, I feel most bullish about them to be high level relievers for this team. I worry about a step back from Matt Strahm. Just feels like he's had 2 years where he's played over what his stuff should play at. We'll see. Again, these are all predictions. I could be totally wrong on all of these. I worry about Jose Ruiz, kind of a no-name guy last year who had an awesome season. Now we all know his name. How does he deal with the pressure of that? If there is a blow-up guy in the bullpen, I'm not taking shots just to take shots, but every bullpen seems to have that one guy that's just like, why is this guy even on the team? He is the bane of my existence. He has cost us ball games. Every team seems to have one of those guys. So it's not just a Philly-specific thing. If I had to pick a dude most likely to be that guy, we'll call it the Junior Marte Memorial role for the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm going to go with Tanner Banks. Lefty specialist, doesn't really throw all that hard. He's not really talked about because he's not an important part of the bullpen compared to some of the other guys, but I wonder how much the Phillies use him with Matt Strahm's shoulder issue, trying to keep him as healthy as possible. And I wonder if he's up for the task. But I think the Phillies have one of the top 2 rotations in baseball. It's them and the Dodgers. I don't see anyone else in that conversation. And I think the bullpen is top 6 or 7 when everything's all said and done. They're going to be damn good at throwing the baseball, and they're going to be damn good at hitting it. So are they going to be damn good enough to win the division? We're going to talk about the National League East coming up. Predictions on win total as well for the Philadelphia Phillies as we wrap up today's episode. Oh, by the way, could they win the World Series? Will they win the World Series? I will tell you what I think coming up next as we wrap up today's episode. All right, Monarch Money. They help you with one of the most important things that happens to everybody. You ever check your bank account and wonder where in the world did all your money go? Because I do that, I feel like 3 times a week. Between dining out, which I did on Tuesday, online shopping, which I did today to get tickets for a game, entertainment, well, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. No, it's much more than that. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building personal wealth. And when you start using Monarch Money, you're going to realize just how much you're spending on certain things that, not that you don't need, but stuff that you're like, wow, I didn't realize I was spending, what's that old internet meme? $10,000 on candles. Somebody help me with my budgeting. My family can't eat. Like, no, it's not that crazy, but you all have stuff that you don't realize you're spending that much on. Monarch Money breaks it down for you. You don't have to juggle multiple apps. It's all right there on the Monarch Money platform. And managing your money with a partner is so much easier. It's smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress or the arguments. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Get your finances in line with our friends over at Monarch Money. All right, I also want to tell you about our friends over at Supply House. They're awesome. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. That's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Maybe you need help with an order. Well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you're always going to talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. T as in trade, M as in master, and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. That's S as in supply, H as in house, 5 as in the number 5, for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, division preview, win total. Can the Phillies win the World Series? These are the big time questions, folks. So here's my breakdown of how the NL East is going to go. The Marlins are going to finish in last. I know. What a bold prediction, Connor. The Nationals are going to finish in 4th. I know. Bold again. That's who I am. I'm a bold guy. And now we get to the tricky spot. The top 3 teams are somewhat interchangeable, but to me, the clear 3rd best team in the division is the New York Mets. That pitching staff up there is a mess. A mess. Their lineup could very well be the best in the division and the best in baseball outside of the Dodgers. Their pitching staff is nearly terrible. Edwin Diaz is probably the bright beacon of their bullpen. And their starting rotation has got hurt guys you don't know, like guys you can't count on for a full year. I don't know how they pitch well enough to be one of the top 2 teams in the division with Atlanta out there, with Philly out there. I've got the Mets coming in 3rd. Though I do think they're going to win 86 or 87 games. I think they're in a solid spot to still find a way for a wild card seed. I think you could see 3 National League East teams in the playoffs this year. I think you should see 3 National League East teams in the playoffs this year. But I think the 2nd place team in the division is going to be, drum roll please, the Atlanta Braves. They have some injuries they got to deal with. Like Spencer Strider, we'll see how he comes back from missing an entire year. Ronald Acuna Jr., we'll see how he comes back from missing the entire year. Chris Sale is not going to equal the performance that he put together last year. And they had some big losses to the bullpen. For example, they brought in Craig Kimbrell, who's down in the minors, who's working his way to be ready to potentially get called up at some point this year. We know what having Craig Kimbrell in your bullpen does in the year 2025. It doesn't add what it did in 2015. So I love the reuniting with the Braves, but he's not that good. And the fact that they're looking for depth options in their pen, like Craig Kimbrell, show you they're not that confident in that unit this year. Their offense is awesome. Can they stay healthy? That's a big question. After so many years of playing 162 straight games, they're still uber talented. I just don't know that they have the complete team that the Philadelphia Phillies have. I think they have questions health-wise and depth-wise, and we will see how that plays out. So I've got the Phillies winning the division again, though I do have the Braves winning upwards of 90 games. I think this is going to be like a 1 or 2 game difference in the division. It's going to be a dogfight between those 3 teams in the Mets, Phillies, and Braves. So if I have the Phillies winning the division, what's the win total that I have for the Phillies? I have been awesome on this. Like, pat myself on the back. I will. Thank you very much. In 2022, I think? Yeah. I nailed it on the head. In 2023, I missed it by 1 game. In 24, I went backwards. I think I missed it by 2 games. So in total, over the last 3 seasons, I have missed by a total of 3 games on the win total. That's about as sharp as you're going to get from anybody on predicting 162 baseball games. And this year, I'm between 2 numbers. I don't see them winning 95 again. I don't see it. I think the division is too tough. And I think they have some questions with health that could be problematic. I don't see them having a major collapse like they did in the second half of the season. So that makes me want to say more than last year. But ultimately, the numbers that have been speaking to me have been 92 or 93. Now, I think that I'm going to go with the higher of those numbers, and I'm going to predict the Phillies right now to win 93 baseball games. It would be their first step back in 6 years when it comes to win total, but it's still enough to win the NL East over a team in Atlanta that I think is going to be a 90 to 91 win team. So 93 wins for the Phils. Can they win the World Series? Absolutely. Will they win the World Series? If push came to shove right now, I would say no. Anyone who comes on here and predicts any team other than the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think is being a homer. I do. Like, they're clearly the best team. They're on a tier of their own. If anyone knocks them off, it will be a minor baseball miracle. Are the Phillies the best team to potentially knock them off? That I would answer yes to. And that should be enough, because if someone else gets the Dodgers knocked out, maybe the Diamondbacks, who are a nice team, the Padres, who are a division rival, well, then it's all bets off. Let's go. Let's go win this thing. There's nobody in the AL as good as the Phillies, and there's very few teams in baseball as good as the Phillies. So if the Dodgers get bounced, Phillies fans, you got an open path. But they're winning the division. They're going to be the 2 seed in the National League again, and they're going to be a very darn good playoff baseball team. Will they win it all? It's going to be hard to beat LA, but it's going to be a great season for the Phillies in South Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. There's our predictions for the season. Tomorrow, we're going to have our preview of Phillies matchup with the Nationals, the series, the game, everything. We're also going to ask an off-the-poll question on the win total. So I'm going to put that out, and we're going to react to that. Where do you have the Phillies win total? I told you I got them at 93. I'm going to break down a couple buckets of possible win numbers and see how the fan base is feeling about the team heading into that. So we'll react to that tomorrow. But, folks, tomorrow is opening day. Get a good night's rest. Get ready. Tomorrow is going to be a fun one. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I will talk to you on opening day tomorrow on our next episode.